Have you ever noticed how your own thoughts can become your biggest enemy? You wake up feeling tired, and before the day even starts, your mind is already filled with doubt, stress, and fear. You tell yourself you're not good enough, not ready, or that nothing will ever change. And the truth is, those thoughts don't just make you feel bad, they stop your progress, drain your energy, and steal your focus. But what if you could take control of those thoughts? What if you could learn how to stop the negative thinking that keeps you stuck? In this video, you're going to learn exactly how to kill your negative thinking for good. We're going to break it down step by step in a way that's real, simple, and powerful. If you're tired of feeling stuck inside your own head, stick around, because this can change everything for you starting today. Number 1. Reject thoughts that drain your energy daily. You know, one of the most important changes you can ever make in your life is learning to reject the thoughts that drain your energy. I'm talking about those thoughts that creep in when no one else is around. The ones that whisper to you that you're not enough, that you can't do it, that it's too late for you. Those thoughts are not just harmless ideas floating around. They're dangerous. They rob you of your focus. They wear you down. And if you don't deal with them, they'll slowly take away your drive, your courage, and eventually your life. Now let's get one thing straight. Your energy is one of the most valuable resources you have. It fuels your focus. It powers your choices. It shapes your day. And negative thinking is like a slow leak in your tank. If you don't plug the hole, it will drain you dry. You might not even notice it at first. It begins with small thoughts, doubt, fear, criticism. And before you know it, your energy is gone. You're tired without reason. You don't feel like doing much. You delay what matters. You disconnect from people. You stop trying. That's how it works. And it happens to people who have great potential. It happens to people who had a dream once, but they allowed thoughts into their minds that didn't belong there. And they didn't challenge those thoughts. They accepted them. And then over time, those thoughts became beliefs. And those beliefs turned into habits. And those habits became their way of life. That's the danger of not rejecting the wrong thoughts. But here's the good news. Your mind is not a storage room for trash. You don't have to hold on to every thought that shows up. You don't have to agree with everything your mind says. You can reject it. You can say no. You can challenge a thought that's bringing you down. You can ask yourself, is this helping me or hurting me? And if it's draining your energy, it needs to go. See, you have to protect your energy like it's your life. Because in many ways, it is your energy determines how you show up for the people you love. It determines how you pursue your goals. It affects your discipline. It influences your decisions. And you don't want your energy controlled by thoughts that were never meant to stay in your mind. When you wake up in the morning, your thoughts already start running. Some will be useful. Some will not. Some will say, you've got this. Some will say, why bother? And that's your moment to decide. You have to listen carefully. You have to be aware of what's going on up there. Because if you let the wrong thoughts live in your head, they will start speaking louder. They will take up more space. And soon they'll be running the show. That's why you must reject them the moment they show up. The first step is awareness. You have to start noticing when a thought is draining you. How do you know? It's simple. If it makes you feel heavy, tired, discouraged, angry, or defeated, that's a signal. Your body knows. Your mood knows. If a thought lowers your motivation, makes you question your worth, or makes you want to quit something important, it's not a good thought. It doesn't belong. You don't need to fight the thought. Just notice it. And then you make a choice. You say to yourself, this thought is not for me. And then you move your focus. You shift your attention to something more useful. You remind yourself what matters. You go back to your goals. You remember your progress. You think of the people who believe in you. That's how you protect your energy. Now don't wait until your life falls apart to start doing this. Don't wait until you're in the middle of a mess. Start now. Start today. Begin to practice rejecting the thoughts that take more than they give. Start building a stronger filter for your mind. You don't let strangers walk into your house and talk down to you, right? Then don't let those kinds of thoughts live in your head. There's nothing noble about carrying mental burdens that don't belong to you. There's no reward for thinking small. There's no prize for constantly beating yourself up. If you want to rise in life, you have to think thoughts that lift you up, not break you down. You have to take your mental energy seriously. Think about it. Every time you allow a negative thought to take root, you lose time, you lose peace, you lose clarity, and most of all, you lose the chance to act. That's the real cost. That's why rejecting those thoughts is not just motivational talk, it's a survival skill. You can't build a strong life with weak thinking. You can't build courage if your mind is full of fear. You can't focus on your path if your thoughts keep pulling you back to what went wrong. So what do? You train your mind. You start by being honest with yourself. Ask, what are the thoughts that leave me tired, discouraged, and small? Write them down. Face them. Don't run from them. And then make a decision. Make a real, powerful, intentional decision that you will no longer allow these thoughts to stay. You will replace them. You will build new thinking patterns. You will create a mental environment that supports your strength, your hope, your effort. And no, this won't happen overnight. It's not about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about practicing every day. Just like you brush your teeth, take care of your body. You must learn to care for your thoughts. You must look at your thinking with the same seriousness as you would with your health, because they're connected. Bad thoughts can make a healthy body feel sick. Good thoughts can bring strength, even when life is hard. Don't underestimate the power of one single thought. That one thought that tells you to try again. That one thought that reminds you of who you are. That one thought that says you're not done yet. That's the kind of thought you want to keep. That's the kind of thought that fuels you, that energizes you, that pushes you forward. Now look at your life. Look at your patterns. Ask yourself honestly, are you tired because of your workload or because of the way you think? Are you stuck because of the world or because you believe you can't move? Are you distracted because of the noise around you or because of the noise in your head? Those are tough questions, but they're necessary. Most of the time, what's draining us is not the job, the family, or the responsibilities. It's the inner war. It's the constant replay of what went wrong. It's the silent criticism, the expectations that crush, the fear of failure, the need for approval. That's where our energy leaks the most. You need to start cutting off the source of those leaks. You need to say no more. No more thinking I'm not good enough. No more comparing myself. No more worrying about what they think. No more replaying my past. No more doubting every step I take. That's how you take your power back. That's how you take your energy back. And this is not just about success. This is about peace. This is about freedom. Because what good is a big house if your mind is full of chaos? What good is a high-paying job if your spirit is drained every night? What good is success if you don't enjoy it? You want to wake up with clarity. You want to go through your day with strength. And that only happens when you take control of your thoughts. There are people who don't have half of what you have, but they have peace. They've learned to master their mind. They've trained themselves to stop feeding what hurts them. And you can too. You can decide to become mentally stronger, starting today. That starts by building a new habit. Every morning before you pick up your phone, ask yourself one question. What kind of thoughts will I allow today? Then decide. Set your standard. And throughout the day, check in. If you feel your energy slipping, don't just ignore it. Pause. Think. What am I thinking about right now? If it's not serving you, change it. Redirect it. Replace it. And here's something else. You need to be careful with who you talk to, because other people's thoughts can influence yours. If you're around people who complain all the time, who criticize everything, who always see the worst in life, you'll absorb that. Protect your environment. Choose your company wisely. Spend more time with those who think forward, who speak life, who believe in growth. That helps you stay strong. But above all, it's your responsibility. No one is coming to fix your thoughts for you. That's your job. That's your daily work. And it's worth it. Because when your mind is strong, your life becomes clearer. Your choices get better. Your attitude improves. And you start building a life you're proud of. You'll still face challenges. Life won't stop throwing punches. But your thoughts will no longer weaken you. They'll prepare you. You'll face problems with a different spirit. You'll stand taller. You'll recover faster. Because you're not wasting energy on thoughts that don't deserve it. So starting today, reject the thoughts that drain you. Protect your energy. Build your mind. And watch what happens when you start thinking like the person you want to become. you'll feel different. You'll act different, and your life will reflect it. It's not about motivation. It's about mental discipline. It's not about feeling good every day. It's about training your mind to serve your purpose. You deserve a life that isn't run by fear, doubt, or shame. But to live that kind of life, you have to think the kind of thoughts that match it. So take your mind back, reclaim your energy, and never forget, you are not your negative thoughts. You are the one who chooses whether they stay or go. Choose wisely, choose powerfully, choose thoughts that build the life you know deep down you were meant to live. Number 2, eliminate words that weaken your inner strength today. The words you speak shape your inner world. Every word you use builds or breaks your inner strength. Most people don't realize how much power their language holds. They talk without thinking. They describe themselves in ways that limit their growth. They speak about their day, their goals, their failures, and their lives in ways that chip away at their confidence. And slowly, without knowing it, they become weak on the inside. Not because life got harder, but because their words made it harder. If you want to grow stronger mentally, if you want to feel more alive, more focused, more determined, then you must eliminate the words that weaken your spirit. You must stop using language that makes you feel smaller than you are. You must stop saying things that make you feel like you don't have control over your life. Because once your words change, your thinking will follow. And when your thinking changes, your actions start to line up. And from there, everything else improves. Most people speak carelessly. They say things like, I can't, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, I never get it right, I'm just not that smart, I'm stuck, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, it's too hard, it's not possible for me. These phrases seem harmless. They sound like regular, everyday talk. But every time you say them, you tell your mind that this is your truth. And the mind listens. It believes you. It takes that statement and looks for evidence to support it. Then it filters your choices, your perspective, and your emotions based on those words. So if you want to strengthen your life, you must start by changing the way you speak to yourself and about yourself. You have to eliminate the weak words. You have to stop saying things that work against you. You have to break the habit of using language that makes you feel powerless. Because words are not just communication. Words are instructions. You're giving instructions to your mind, your emotions, your energy. So when you say, I'm stuck, your mind says, all right, no need to look for options. When you say, I can't do this, your energy drops. When you say, this is just who I am, your growth stops. Look around. The people who move forward in life don't talk like victims. They don't use words that make them feel helpless. They speak like they're in charge. They may not know everything. They may still be learning, but they never let their language bring them down. And that's something you can control. You don't need money to change your words. You don't need a perfect life. All you need is awareness and commitment. Start by paying attention to the words you say most often. What do you tell yourself when things go wrong? What do you say when you face a challenge? What words come out when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you failed at something? That's where the truth lives. That's where your real programming is. If you say, I always mess this up, you're not describing reality. You're reinforcing failure. You may have messed up once or twice, but that doesn't mean you always do. That's an exaggeration. It's an emotional response, but it shapes your identity. And if you say it enough times, you'll start to believe it. Then you won't even try to improve. You need to shift from disempowering words to clear and honest ones. If you made a mistake, say, I didn't do well that time, but I'm learning. If something is challenging, say this is tough, but I'll figure it out. If you're tired, don't say, I can't do anything. Say, I need to rest, then I'll keep going. That's how strong people talk. They don't deny the problem, but they don't give up their strength either. Another common way people weaken themselves is through labels. They say things like, I'm just lazy, or I'm a failure, or I'm not like them. These words sound like facts, but they're not. They're choices. No one is born lazy. No one is born a failure. Those are learned patterns and reinforced beliefs. And they can be unlearned, but only if you stop repeating them with your words. If you want to build inner strength, you have to speak to yourself with clarity, not cruelty. You don't need to lie to yourself. You just need to stop attacking yourself. Every time you say something negative about who you are, you lower your energy, you shut the door on growth. You limit your potential. That's why it's not about fake positivity. It's about real discipline. Discipline in how you speak. Discipline in how you describe your life. And yes, it takes effort. It's not automatic. You've spent years saying things without thinking. So now you have to be intentional. That means when you catch yourself saying, "I'm not good at this," stop, replace it. Say, "I'm learning how to improve." When you hear yourself say, "This is impossible," change it to, "This will take time, but it's possible." That's not just positive talk. That's training your mind to stay useful. There's a difference between being honest and being destructive. Honesty means recognizing where you're at, what needs to improve, and what's holding you back. Destructive language means labeling yourself in ways that make progress harder. The goal is not to ignore the problems. It's to stop using words that keep you trapped in them. Now let's talk about another way your words weaken you. Complaining. Complaining is a habit that feeds helplessness. Every time you complain, you focus on what you can't control. You relive frustration. You re-enter the negative situation in your mind. You waste energy, and you invite more dissatisfaction. If something's wrong, fix it. If you can't fix it, learn from it. If you can't learn from it, walk away. But don't keep repeating it out loud. That drains you. Strong people don't spend their energy on complaining. They look for solutions. They focus on what they can change. And they speak in a way that moves them forward. That's what you need to start doing. Change the direction of your language. Use your words to build your energy, not drain it. Also, be careful with sarcasm and self-deprecating humor. It might feel like a joke, but your mind doesn't always know the difference. If you keep calling yourself a mess, a failure, or a nobody, even as a joke, you train your brain to believe that. You create an identity around it, and over time that becomes your reality. So watch your jokes. Make sure they're not shaping a version of yourself that you don't want to become. Another word that weakens your strength is someday. People use it to avoid action. They say, "Someday I'll get healthy. Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll fix my habits." But someday never arrives. It's an excuse in disguise. It's a delay. It removes urgency. It makes your goals feel far away. If you want to change, stop using that word. Say, "Today I'll take the first step." That's power. That's momentum. And don't say, "I hope it works out," when you haven't even tried. Hope is not a strategy. Replace hope with a plan. Say, "I'm going to give my full effort. I'll learn what I need to learn. I'll adjust until I figure it out." That's what strong language looks like. It gives you direction. It keeps you moving. So here's the challenge starting today. Become aware of your words. Notice what you say when you're talking to yourself. Notice the phrases you repeat in your mind. If they don't support you, stop saying them. You're not stuck with the language you grew up hearing. You can build a new way of speaking, one that aligns with the life you want to live. When you're in doubt, speak strength. When you're afraid, speak courage. When you fail, speak lessons. When you're lost, speak clarity. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stop speaking like you've already lost. Your inner strength doesn't come from shouting or pretending to be fearless. It comes from consistency. It comes from using your words to support your values, your goals, your growth. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes. You'll begin to notice that your mind starts working for you instead of against you. You'll feel clearer, more stable, more focused. Not because life got easier, but because your words stopped making it harder. You are always one sentence away from a better mindset. And that sentence is the one you choose to say next. So make it count. Speak with direction. Speak with strength. Speak in a way that builds you up, not tears you down. And watch how your life begins to reflect the power of your voice. Number 3. Replace doubt with actions that build your courage. Doubt is the feeling that makes you pause when you should move forward. It shows up when you're about to try something new. It appears right before you take a risk. It's that voice in your head that questions everything, that wants you to stay where it's safe, where nothing changes, where nothing grows. But if you want to become stronger, If you want to achieve something meaningful, then you have to replace that doubt with action. Not with overthinking, not with waiting, but with doing something that gives you real strength. Courage is not something you wait to feel. It's something you build through actions. The more action you take, the smaller the doubt becomes. When you sit with doubt too long, it grows. It starts asking more questions. It starts feeding your fear. It starts bringing up every reason why you shouldn't take the next step. It takes your energy. It steals your focus. And before you know it, you're stuck. Not because you can't move, but because you've convinced yourself it's too risky to move. You have to understand this. Your mind listens to your behavior. If you act weak, your mind believes you're weak. If you hesitate too often, your mind believes it's too dangerous to try. But when you take action, even small action, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you can face what you're afraid of. You prove that you're capable, that you're not stuck, that you still have power. There is no perfect time to act. Waiting for the right mood, the right conditions, or the right level of confidence is just another trick. Doubt plays on you. The only way to gain clarity is through movement. The only way to grow your confidence is to do the thing that scares you. Not all at once. Not recklessly, but one step at a time. Real courage doesn't come from a perfect plan. It comes from doing something that matters even when your hands shake. Even when your mind doubts. When you avoid action, you feed the doubt. You tell yourself, I can't handle it. And that message gets repeated in your mind until you start to believe it. It becomes your story. And that story shapes how you live. But you can change the story. You can write a new one by taking control of what you do. Action changes the script. It doesn't just challenge doubt. It rewrites it. You don't have to wait until you're not afraid. You don't have to wait until everything makes sense. What you need is to act in spite of the fear. Fear and doubt don't leave on their own. You have to replace them. You have to push them out by doing something real, something uncomfortable, something that proves you're still growing. You build courage by showing up when it's hard. You build courage by taking a step when your mind tells you to stay still. You build courage by speaking up when your voice shakes. You build it by choosing growth over comfort, again and again, until it becomes part of who you are. Look at the areas in your life where you feel the most doubt. What are you avoiding? What decision are you putting off? What goal have you been hesitating to chase? The longer you wait, the more power doubt gains. The longer you sit with fear, the harder it gets to act. And the harder it gets to act, the more you start believing the lies. Doubt tells you, the solution is simple, but not easy. Replace that doubt with movement, with decisions, with effort. If you doubt you're capable, prove it wrong by learning something new today. If you doubt your strength, go out and challenge yourself physically or mentally. If you doubt your value, do something meaningful for someone else. Action doesn't wait for belief. It creates it. You don't become brave by thinking about being brave. You become brave by doing what scares you. You do it with uncertainty in your heart and fire in your effort. That's what changes people. That's what shifts lives. Waiting doesn't make you wiser. Action does. Movement teaches you lessons. It gives you proof. It gives you feedback. It helps you grow. Doubt is quiet but dangerous. It hides in excuses. It sounds reasonable. It uses smart language to justify fear. It tells you to wait until you're more prepared. But growth doesn't come from waiting. It comes from showing up. It comes from trying. It comes from trying. It comes from giving your best effort, even when nothing is guaranteed. That's what builds your courage. When you take action, you interrupt the doubt. You send a different message to your mind. You say, I may not know everything, but I'm going to try. You say, this matters to me, and I'm not backing down. And that mindset shifts your emotional state. Suddenly you're not thinking about all the ways it could go wrong. You're focused on what you're doing. And that shift in focus gives you energy. It gives you momentum. And it builds a deeper trust in yourself. You don't need big victories to feel strong. You need progress. You need effort. You need to keep showing up, even when it's not perfect. Most people give up not because they don't have what it takes, but because they give too much attention to their doubt. They talk themselves out of trying. They imagine the worst outcomes, and in doing so, they destroy their potential before they even begin. You have to decide that you won't do that anymore. You have to decide that action will be your answer. Every time doubt shows up, you move. Every time fear speaks, you respond with effort. You don't run from it. You rise and do something, even if it's small, even if it's hard. That's how courage is built. Start small if you have to. Take the smallest action you can take right now that goes in the direction you want. Make the call. Write the first paragraph. Apply for the opportunity. Have the conversation. Set the alarm. Take the walk. Read the page. Whatever it is, take the step. Because no action is too small when you're replacing doubt. Every action is a statement. Every step says, I'm not giving in. You'll learn more by doing than you will by thinking. You'll grow faster by trying than by planning. Yes, strategy is important, but action is what gives your strategy life. You don't want to be the person with perfect ideas and no courage to try them. You want to be the person who keeps showing up and figuring it out as they go. That's how real strength is built. And don't compare your courage to anyone else's. Everyone's fear looks different. Everyone's doubt sounds different. What matters is your effort. What matters is that you take action that's meaningful for you. That you stop waiting for the fear to leave and start living through it. That you don't settle for a small life just because doubt told you it was safer. There will always be reasons not to act. There will always be questions, risks, and uncertainty. But that's the path to growth. That's the space where courage lives. You don't need certainty to begin. You need determination. You need a reason strong enough to pull you forward. You need to want the growth more than you fear the discomfort. The best way to silence doubt is with results. And results come from consistent action. From waking up and doing what matters, even when it's inconvenient. From pushing through resistance, even when you feel tired. From not making excuses when things get tough. That's what builds self-respect. That's what strengthens your mindset. You'll never feel fully ready. You'll never have a perfect moment. That's the trap. Waiting for readiness is how you miss your life. Action brings clarity. Action brings strength. And courage grows when you stop listening to doubt and start proving it wrong. You get to choose your focus. You can focus on what might go wrong, or you can focus on what's possible. You can focus on your fear, or you can focus on the next step. You can stay in your head, or you can get in the game. That's a daily decision. That's the difference between people who rise and people who stay the same. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward even when fear is there. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. The voice of doubt gets quieter. The weight of fear gets lighter. And you start to feel stronger, more focused, more alive. So move now. Do something with what you have. Use your time, your body, your energy to create motion. Don't think about it all day. Don't second guess yourself. Do something that scares you a little. Then do it again tomorrow, and again the next day. That's how courage is built. Through action repeated over time. Replace the doubt with movement. Replace the fear with progress. Replace the hesitation with real effort. Your strength doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. And your courage will never grow if you keep standing still. You have more power than you think. Use it, act on it, and become the person who doesn't just talk about change, but lives it. Number 4, silence voices that limit your true potential now. Every person has a voice inside them that questions their value, doubts their ability, and holds them back from stepping into who they could be. It's not always loud. Sometimes it hides behind logic. Sometimes it sounds like reason, but its purpose is always the same. To limit your potential, to make you stop short of growth, to convince you to stay small. If you want to grow into the strongest version of yourself, you must learn to silence those voices now. Not later, not when it's easy, but now. You don't need to accept everything you hear in your own mind. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves your attention. Most of those limiting voices were planted in you years ago. Some came from people who didn't believe in themselves. Some came from failure. Others came from fear. But none of those voices represent the full truth about what you're capable of. They speak from the past, not your future. They speak from fear, not strength. And unless you learn to challenge them, they will keep shaping how you live your life. You have to become aware of them. You have to start noticing the moments they show up. Maybe you're about to try something new, and suddenly the thought hits you. You're not ready. Or you want to speak up for yourself, and a voice says, no one wants to hear you. Or you feel the desire to improve, and something tells you, this won't work for someone like you. These are not facts. These are barriers created by insecurity, rejection, and past experiences that do not have to control your future. The mistake many people make is that they argue with those voices instead of cutting them off. You don't need to debate a lie. You don't need to reason with fear. You need to recognize what's happening and respond with discipline. Tell yourself clearly, this voice does not help me. That statement alone breaks its control over you. When you name it, you separate yourself from it. And once you separate yourself from it, you can take your power back. Those voices get louder when you're on the edge of something meaningful. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to act. They want you to stay where it's familiar, where it's safe, where you can predict everything. That's why silencing them is not just about peace. It's about your future. It's about building a life that reflects your real ability, not your fears. The people who reach their highest level of potential are not the ones with the best background or the most support. They're the ones who learned how to shut out the noise. They heard the same voices you hear. They dealt with the same fear of rejection, the same self-doubt, the same pressure. But they didn't surrender to it. They acted in spite of it. They trained their minds to focus on what moves them forward, not what holds them back. And you can do the same. But you have to decide that your future means more than your fear. You have to care more about your progress than your comfort. That's the moment everything begins to shift. That's when you start moving from weakness to strength. Don't wait for the voices to disappear on their own. They won't. You silence them by choosing different thoughts. You silence them by speaking your truth louder than your fear. You silence them by taking action that proves them wrong. When the voice says, you're not enough, respond with effort. When it says, you'll fail again, respond with persistence. When it says, no one cares, respond with purpose. That's how you take back control. Many people never live the life they want because they never learn to lead their mind. They stay reactive. They let old memories, old comments, and old beliefs run their present decisions. And because of that, they keep repeating the same patterns. Same fear, same avoidance, same low standards. And that creates a life that feels limited, not because it has to be, but because their inner voice made it that way. You were not born to doubt yourself. That's something you were taught. And if it was learned, it can be unlearned. If it was planted, it can be removed. If it grew from pain, it can be healed with action. But none of that will happen until you stop giving power to the voice that keeps telling you to settle. Start by being honest with yourself. What do you hear most often when you want to grow? What message repeats in your mind when you try to move forward? Write it down. Don't hide from it. Face it, because only what is seen can be changed. Only what is recognized can be silenced. Don't be afraid of the voice. Be more afraid of what it's keeping you from. Then make a choice. Decide what kind of person you want to become. Someone who listens to limitation, or someone who lives with purpose. Someone who backs away when it gets hard, or someone who rises, no matter how they feel. Your choice shapes your future, not your feelings, not your doubt, your choice. Once you've made that decision, take full responsibility for it. Don't wait for permission. Don't look for validation. If you keep listening to others before you move, you'll never move far. You'll live in circles. You'll stay stuck in the same cycles. And eventually, you'll convince yourself that nothing can change. But everything can change when you take ownership. When you stop asking, why is this voice here? And start asking, what will I do about it? That's where strength is built. That's where transformation begins. You're not here to survive your mind. You're here to lead it. To do that, you must feed your mind better messages. Speak strength when the voice tries to break you. Tell yourself what's true, not just what's familiar. Say, I'm capable of learning. When doubt says you're not smart enough, say, I've made it through worse. When fear says you won't survive this, say, this matters to me. When the voice says it's not worth it, you don't need to scream. You don't need to pretend. You just need to speak what's true and real and useful. That becomes your new inner voice. One that supports you, one that believes in your progress, one that fuels your effort, and don't expect perfection. There will be days when the voices are loud. There will be moments when they catch you off guard. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. But you still have a choice. You can either let those voices decide what happens next, or you can breathe, regroup, and choose strength again. Over time, your new voice gets stronger. Your inner world becomes quieter. Your focus sharpens. And you begin to notice a difference. You start waking up with more clarity. You feel lighter. You act with more confidence. Not because the world changed, but because your internal dialogue did. Every time you silence the voice that limits you, you unlock a new level of potential. You remove a layer of fear. You free yourself from mental chains that were never meant to stay. And as those voices lose their power, your energy rises. Your vision becomes clearer. Your belief becomes stronger. You are not the voice of your limits. You are the one who can silence them. You are the one who decides what thoughts to accept and what thoughts to reject. And the sooner you take control, the sooner your life reflects your real ability. This is not about motivation. This is about decision. This is about drawing a line and saying, I will no longer let fear speak for me. I will no longer let doubt decide for me. I will no longer let the past control me. You speak those words, and then you follow them with action. Don't make this complicated. Start where you are. Catch the limiting voice. Interrupt it. Replace it. Then act. That's the formula. Repeat it as often as necessary. You'll get stronger. You'll move faster. You'll see progress. Your potential is still there. It's not gone. It's just buried under noise. Strip away the noise. Strip away the judgment. Strip away the insecurity. What's left is something powerful. Your true self. A self that is capable, focused, and ready. But you can't find that version of yourself if you keep turning the volume up on the wrong voices. So turn them down. Silence them. Replace them with truth. And start living as the person you were always meant to be. Not one day, not someday, but now. Number 5. Confront fears blocking your path to real success. Fear doesn't just visit your life. It camps there if you don't deal with it directly. It stands in your way. It blocks your growth. It tells you to wait, to play it safe, to take smaller steps than you're capable of. And if you don't confront it, you start building your life around it. You make decisions based on it. You avoid situations where it might show up. You pass on opportunities because fear convinced you they're not for you. That's how people lose their potential. Not all at once, but in pieces, every time they let fear go unchallenged. If you're serious about reaching your real success, you must confront the fears you've been avoiding. You must stop pretending that fear will go away on its own. It won't. Fear is not something you escape from. It's something you face. You walk straight toward it. You deal with it head on. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because the longer you wait, the stronger it grows. Fear gets its power from avoidance. Every time you back away, it grows. Every time you avoid speaking up, taking the step, starting the journey, fear becomes more convincing. And eventually it controls how you live. Not because it has real power, but because you gave it permission to lead. You don't beat fear by thinking about it. You beat it by getting close to it. You beat it by doing what it doesn't want you to do. You take the stage. You have the conversation. You take the risk. You try again after failing. That's how fear loses its grip. Not by hiding from it, but by proving it wrong through action. There is no success without fear. Every person you admire had to confront something that made them uncomfortable. They had to step into the unknown. They had to keep going despite the risk. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck is simple. One group walks through fear. The other group lets it decide for them. Think about your life right now. What fear has been holding you back? What have you been putting off? What truth are you avoiding because of what might happen? That's the door you need to walk through. That's the space you need to enter. Because right on the other side of that fear is your next breakthrough. Fear is not a sign to stop. It's a signal that something important is nearby. It means you're stepping outside of comfort, and that's where progress happens. Staying safe has its price. You feel bored, restless, regretful, You wonder what could have been. You look at people who moved forward and think, that could have been me. And the only difference is how they handled their fear. You don't need to wait until you're fearless. That's not how this works. You need to act while the fear is still present. You take a deep breath and you move anyway. You don't let the fear make the decision for you. You acknowledge it and you walk through it. That builds real strength. That builds mental discipline. That turns fear into fuel. Fear wants you to avoid failure, but in doing so, it also makes you avoid success. It wants you to stay hidden, unnoticed, safe. But safe doesn't create impact. Safe doesn't build legacy. Safe doesn't change lives. If you want something more from your life, you have to be willing to face what makes you nervous. You have to become someone who sees fear and still moves forward. You don't overcome fear in your mind. You overcome it in your behavior. You take the step, you make the call, you try again, you write it, say it, build it. You face the discomfort and you keep showing up. Not once, not twice, but every day until it becomes normal. Fear is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It sounds like overthinking, like procrastination, like perfectionism. It hides behind excuses. It says it's not the right time, or I'm still working on myself, or I'll start when I feel more confident. But those are just fear in disguise. You must learn to spot it. You must call it out, and then you must act anyway. Courage is a decision. It's not about feeling brave. It's about choosing what matters more than your fear. It's about wanting growth more than you want comfort. It's about building a life where you're proud of your choices, not controlled by your hesitation. You might feel fear in your chest. You might sweat. Your voice might shake. That doesn't mean you're not strong. That means you're human. And still you go. Still you move. Still you rise. Because if you wait until fear disappears, you'll be waiting the rest of your life. But if you move now, if you take a step today, you begin the process of transformation. You've already lived enough years in hesitation. You've already missed enough chances. This is the time to decide. This is where you confront it. Not in theory, not in your mind, but with real action. You do the thing that makes you uncomfortable. You go where it's hard to go. You speak what's hard to say. And on the other side of that choice is freedom. You won't eliminate fear completely, and you don't need to. You only need to stop letting it lead. You only need to stop giving it the final say. That alone will change your life. When fear no longer controls your decisions, you become dangerous in the best way. You start taking bold steps. You start seeing results. You stop apologizing for trying. You start living with purpose. Everything you want, your goals, your peace, your growth, it all lives on the other side of fear. Not because fear is special, but because it's standing in the way. And the way you get to what you want is by going through it. Not over it, not around it, through it. That's the only way forward. You already know what your fear looks like. You already know the areas it touches. You've lived with it long enough. So now you face it. You say, this fear does not get to decide for me anymore. And you act. Not someday now. That decision will cost you comfort, but it will reward you with growth. It will stretch you. It will build your confidence. It will show you who you really are. When you stop hiding behind what might go wrong. People think confidence comes first. It doesn't. Courage comes first. Confidence is the reward. It's what grows after you move. After you face the thing you were avoiding. After you show yourself that you can handle more than you thought. And what if you fail? You learn. You adjust. You try again. Failure is not the enemy. Fear is failure gives you experience. Fear gives you nothing but regret. Choose experience. Choose action. Choose the risk of growth over the safety of limitation. You don't need to do everything today. You don't need to take a giant leap. You just need to take a real step. One that puts you closer to your goal and further away from fear. One that you can look back on tomorrow and say, I didn't wait. I moved. This is your life. Not a rehearsal. Not a draft. And you don't get more time to make the same choices. So choose strength now. Choose discipline. Choose progress. Confront the fears that have been running the show. Not with hope, with action. Stand in front of the fear and say, You've had your say, now I'm going forward. And then you go. You go with your heart pounding, with your doubts still there, but with your decision stronger than your hesitation. That's how breakthroughs happen. That's how confidence is born. That's how real success begins. Not from perfect timing, but from courageous action. Right now. Number 6, remove habits that feed insecurity from your life. Insecurity doesn't always show up as loud, obvious weakness. It hides behind quiet patterns. It builds itself into your daily behavior. It lives in your habits, what you do repeatedly without thinking. And over time, those habits feed the belief that you're not enough, that you don't measure up, that you'll never be as strong, as focused, as successful as you need to be. If you want to grow past insecurity, if you want to start building confidence that's real and lasting, then you must start removing the habits that keep insecurity alive. You can't fix what you don't notice. Most people are not insecure because of one major event. They're insecure because of what they keep doing daily. They scroll through other people's lives and compare. They put off important work and feel guilty later. They criticize themselves more than they encourage themselves. They avoid difficult tasks and choose comfort instead. These actions may feel small, but they reinforce the idea that you're not capable of more. And the longer you let those habits stay in place, the deeper insecurity takes root. It becomes part of your thinking. It shows up in how you speak, how you walk, how you treat yourself. You don't need anyone else to bring you down. Your own behavior does the job. That's why removing those habits is not optional. It's essential. Start with the habit of comparison. When you constantly measure your worth against someone else's progress, you weaken your confidence. You start thinking they're ahead and you're behind, that they're stronger and you're lacking, that they're special and you're ordinary. But the truth is, you don't know their story. You don't see their struggles. You don't feel their failures. All you see is the highlight, and you judge your entire life based on that image. This habit must go. If you want to build your own confidence, you must stop keeping score with someone else's numbers. Another habit that feeds insecurity is procrastination. Putting things off feels harmless, but it does real damage. Every time you avoid doing what needs to be done, you train your mind to doubt your discipline. You teach yourself that you can't be trusted with your own goals. And every time you break a promise to yourself, your self-respect takes a hit. You may think it's just one missed workout or one more skipped responsibility, but your mind records it. Over time, it becomes a pattern of failure that you start to believe is your identity. If you want to feel stronger, you must show up when it's hard. Not for other people, but for yourself. Another habit that must be removed is negative self-talk. Talking down to yourself may feel normal, especially if you grew up hearing criticism more than encouragement. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. You don't get stronger by repeating your worst thoughts. You don't grow by rehearsing your flaws. You become what you repeat. And if what you repeat is shame, doubt, or failure, then that's what you'll carry with you every day. You have to break this habit, not by pretending everything is perfect, but by speaking to yourself with honesty and strength. Tell yourself the truth without cruelty. Admit your mistakes, but follow it with action. Speak to yourself like someone you respect. People also feed insecurity by staying around others who drain their confidence. If you constantly hear discouragement, sarcasm, or criticism, your self-image starts to shrink. You begin to internalize their opinions. You start doubting your choices, and you forget that you're allowed to create distance from anyone who keeps you small. If you want to remove insecurity, take a look at your environment. Are you surrounded by people who want you to grow, or people who want you to stay the same? You don't owe your future to anyone who's not helping you build it. Then there's the habit of perfectionism. The belief that unless everything is flawless, it doesn't count. That mindset kills progress. It makes you afraid to try. It makes you afraid to fail. And without trying or failing, there's no growth. Perfectionism is insecurity in disguise. It looks like high standards, but it's really fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. You don't need perfect. You need real. You need consistent effort. You need to be okay with doing your best, even when your best isn't perfect. One of the most overlooked habits that feeds insecurity is constant distraction. You keep yourself busy with noise, entertainment, gossip, notifications, anything to avoid silence. anything to avoid sitting with yourself. Because deep down, there's discomfort. There's a feeling of not enough that you haven't dealt with. But distraction doesn't fix it. It just buries it. And buried pain always finds its way back. If you want to grow stronger, you must face yourself. You must learn how to be alone with your own thoughts, without trying to escape them. Insecurity also grows when you don't take care of your body. When you ignore sleep, fuel yourself with junk, or avoid physical movement. Your energy drops, your posture weakens, your presence fades, and you start to feel small, not because of who you are, but because of how you treat yourself. Confidence doesn't just live in the mind, it lives in the body too. When you take care of yourself, when you move with intention, when you eat with purpose, you feel more powerful. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You think differently. This habit is not about appearance, it's about energy. And your energy is either building your confidence or draining it. Another habit to eliminate is always seeking approval. When your worth depends on someone else's opinion, you become fragile. One compliment lifts you up. One criticism tears you down. That's not stability. That's emotional dependency. If you want to build inner security, you must stop needing constant reassurance. You must learn to validate your own efforts, to be proud of your growth, even if no one claps, to stand firm in your values, even if no one agrees. Confidence doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment. Knowing that your actions reflect who you truly want to be. Also, stop apologizing for your growth. Insecure people shrink when others feel uncomfortable. They make themselves small to keep the peace. But you don't need to hide your ambition. You don't need to explain your goals. You don't need to feel guilty for wanting more. You're allowed to rise. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to outgrow people, habits, and situations that no longer support your future. Confidence grows when you stop seeking permission to evolve and remove the habit of living in the past. Insecurity thrives on regret, on old memories, on the stories you tell yourself about who you used to be. But the past doesn't define you unless you keep carrying it. Every time you say, "I've always been this way," you limit your potential. You lock yourself into an old version of yourself that no longer fits. Growth means letting go. It means saying, "I am not my past." It means giving yourself permission to move forward without dragging old labels, old wounds, or old habits with you. Start noticing how these habits show up in your life. Write them down. Be honest with yourself. Don't hide behind excuses. If something is feeding your insecurity, it has to go. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now, because every day you keep those habits in place is another day you stay beneath your potential. And that's not where you belong. Removing these habits is not about being perfect. It's about being committed. Committed to building a life that reflects your strength. Committed to showing up in a way that earns your own respect. Committed to facing the discomfort of change because you know what's on the other side is worth it. You don't need to fix everything at once. You don't need to eliminate every bad habit overnight. But you do need to start. Start with one. Replace comparison with self-reflection. Replace procrastination with daily effort. Replace negative self-talk with real, grounded encouragement. Replace distraction with moments of focus. Replace perfectionism with progress. Replace approval-seeking with inner validation. And with each replacement, you'll feel it. A shift in how you think. A rise in how you feel. A new energy in how you move through the day. Not because the world changed, but because your habits changed. And when your habits change, everything begins to align. Confidence is not a mystery, it's a result. It's built through action, reinforced by behavior, protected by discipline. And it starts with removing what no longer serves your strength. You're not stuck, you're just conditioned. Break the pattern. Choose better. Build a life that matches who you're becoming, not who you used to be. Insecurity is not your identity. It's a reflection of repeated patterns. And patterns can be rewritten, starting now. Starting with one decision, one new habit, one clear intention. Your future is shaped by what you do today. Choose habits that make you stronger. Let go of the ones that keep you small. Your next level begins when you stop feeding what weakens you and start building what empowers you. Number 7, challenge beliefs holding your happiness hostage immediately. What you believe about yourself, about life, about what's possible, that's the foundation of how you experience everything. Your beliefs shape your thoughts, your choices, your relationships, your emotions. And most people walk through life following beliefs they never chose for themselves. They inherited them. They absorbed them. They accepted them because they heard them enough times. But many of those beliefs are lies. Many of those beliefs are old, outdated, unchallenged. And they're doing one thing: holding your happiness hostage. If you want real peace, real joy, and real progress, you must start challenging those beliefs today. Not next week, not when life slows down. Today. Happiness isn't hiding from you. You're blocking it with what you believe. If you believe you're not worthy, then nothing will ever feel good enough. If you believe life is supposed to be a struggle all the time, then even your wins will feel temporary. If you believe you need someone else's permission to feel good, then you'll stay waiting for validation that never lasts. And if you believe that success, peace, or love are things meant for other people and not you, then you'll keep sabotaging every chance you get to feel fulfilled. These beliefs are not harmless. They're destructive. They become the invisible wall between where you are and where you want to be. But here's the truth. Beliefs are not facts. They are not permanent. They can be questioned. They can be replaced. You don't have to keep living inside a story that hurts you. You don't have to keep repeating ideas that keep you small. You have the power to stop. You have the ability to choose better. The moment you start challenging what you've believed for too long, you give yourself a chance to build a new kind of life. Start by asking yourself a real question. What do I believe that keeps me unhappy? Be honest. Don't sugarcoat it. Write it down. Say it out loud. Name the belief. That's where it begins. Because most people don't even realize the root of their frustration. They just feel stuck. They feel unfulfilled. They feel lost. But underneath all of that is a belief that was never questioned. A belief that sounds like, I'll never be enough, or I always mess things up, or I don't deserve good things, or nothing ever works out for me. These beliefs don't come out of nowhere. They were built over time. Maybe someone told you something in your childhood that planted the seed. Maybe you failed once and turned that moment into a lifelong story. Maybe you were hurt, rejected, overlooked, and instead of processing the experience, you created a belief that you've been carrying around ever since. And every time something bad happens, that belief gets stronger. It gets reinforced. And eventually, you stop questioning it. You just accept it as truth. But what if it's not true? What if the belief is based on a version of you that no longer exists? What if the story you've been telling yourself has been wrong all along? What if you've been living inside a mental prison with a key in your hand the entire time? That's the moment where change begins. When you look your beliefs in the eye and say, I'm not sure you belong here anymore. Don't underestimate how deeply rooted some of these beliefs are. They've been with you for years. So when you start challenging them, you might feel resistance. You might feel doubt. That's normal. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That means you're pushing against the part of your mind that's used to comfort. That part of your mind wants to keep things the same, even if the same is painful. It would rather stay familiar than risk something new. But that's not strength. That's fear in disguise. Challenging your beliefs doesn't mean pretending everything's okay. It means being bold enough to face what's not working and strong enough to ask why you still believe it. It means separating what's real from what's emotional. It means refusing to let old pain write your future. Because every belief you hold shapes the life you live, and the wrong belief will keep you in the wrong place forever. Start replacing them with beliefs that serve you, but not empty, feel-good slogans. You need grounded, empowering beliefs that are backed by action. Beliefs like, I can learn anything if I work for it. I am allowed to enjoy my life, even while growing. I don't need permission to be proud of myself. I can take care of myself and still care for others. These aren't just positive thoughts. These are tools. They create new momentum. They shift your energy. They change your behavior. You also need to challenge beliefs about what happiness even means. Some people think happiness only comes from achievement, so they chase goals non-stop. But when they hit the target, they still feel empty, because they believe that success would fix how they feel inside. Others think happiness means avoiding pain, so they numb themselves. They distract. They escape. But in doing so, they avoid life. They avoid growth. Real happiness doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you're aligned with your values. It means your actions match your purpose. It means you stop betraying yourself. You might have beliefs that say you need to prove yourself before you can be at peace. You might believe that other people's opinions are more important than your own. You might believe that you're only as good as your last achievement, but those beliefs are not facts. They are emotional habits, and they can be broken. It starts with awareness. You hear the thought, and instead of obeying it, you ask where it came from. You ask, who told me this? When did I start believing this? Is it still true now? Those questions bring clarity. They break the cycle. Because once you question a belief, it starts to lose its power. Once you interrupt the pattern, you open the door to a different choice. And don't wait until life gets worse to start doing this work. Don't wait for the next breakdown. Don't wait until your frustration reaches a boiling point. Start now. Start while you're aware. Start while you can still catch the pattern before it repeats itself again. You owe it to yourself to stop letting invisible thoughts keep you from visible joy. Challenge the belief that says you're too late. You're not. You have time. Challenge the belief that says people like you don't get far. That's a lie. Challenge the belief that says you don't deserve happiness unless you earn it. You deserve it because you're alive. Challenge the belief that says you're defined by your worst moment. You're not. You are more than one chapter. You are still writing the story. And no, this isn't about ignoring pain or pretending things are easy. This is about taking control of your mental environment. It's about removing the mental weight that you've carried for too long. It's about clearing space for better thoughts, better habits, better energy. You don't need to change everything at once, but you do need to start with one belief, one lie you've accepted, one rule you've lived by that no longer serves you. Once you identify it, speak against it, say it out loud, replace it, and act in a way that proves it wrong. If you've believed you're not confident, do something bold today. If you've believed you're always the one who gets overlooked, take up space in a room. If you've believed you're broken, start doing things that build you up. That's how you change your story. Not with words alone, but with action that supports the new belief. This is what growth looks like. Not overnight transformation, not constant motivation, but small, powerful moments where you refuse to keep living in chains. Moments where you say, I've had enough of this lie. I'm not going to let this thought run my life anymore. And then you back that statement up with action. You're not stuck because of what's happening around you. You're stuck because of what you've been taught to believe about yourself and your life. And the good news is, you can teach yourself something new. You can learn to think in ways that lift you. You can train your mind to support your happiness, not sabotage it. The mind is always working. It's always producing thoughts. But you decide which ones stay. You decide which ones become part of your identity. And the moment you choose differently, everything begins to shift. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Your happiness is too important to be controlled by beliefs that were never yours to begin with. Challenge them, replace them, build new ones. The kind that give you room to breathe, the kind that allow you to grow, the kind that bring peace, not pressure. You don't need permission. You don't need anyone else to believe it first. You start, you lead, you build from within. You have one life, and it's not meant to be spent inside a mental cage. Free yourself from the thoughts that keep you down. Step into beliefs that lift you up, and live with the freedom that comes when your mind becomes a place of strength. Not fear, not doubt, not regret, but clarity, purpose, and happiness. That freedom begins when you stop accepting every belief and start choosing what serves the life you want to live. Starting now. Number 8, ignore opinions that stop your personal growth daily. Every day you wake up with choices. You decide how you think, how you act, and how you move toward your future. But there's one thing that can steal those choices from you if you're not careful. The opinions of other people. Not facts, not truth, just opinions. And if you listen to the wrong ones, your personal growth stops. You lose momentum. You start questioning your path. You hesitate, you shrink, and little by little, you begin to live a life that belongs more to others than it does to you. Opinions are everywhere. They come from family, friends, coworkers, strangers, even people who barely know you. Everyone has something to say. Everyone has an idea of who you should be, what you should do, what your limits are, how you should feel. And if you're not strong enough to separate your identity from their expectations, you'll spend your whole life chasing approval while losing yourself in the process. Growth requires independence. It requires you to think for yourself, to choose what matters to you, to move even when others don't understand. And that's the challenge. Most people don't grow because they don't want to disappoint anyone. They fear judgment. They fear rejection. They fear being misunderstood. So instead of growing, they conform. Instead of moving forward, they stand still and wait for someone else to tell them it's okay. But your future doesn't belong to other people. It belongs to you. And if you keep allowing someone else's words to decide your direction, you'll never feel proud of who you are. You'll always feel behind. You'll always feel disconnected from your purpose. Because no matter how many people you please, you'll still be unhappy if you're not living in alignment with who you're meant to be. You have to get honest about whose voice you've been listening to. Maybe it's a parent who never believed in you. Maybe it's a friend who projects their fear onto your dreams. Maybe it's someone who once laughed at your goals and now their voice lives in your head every time you try to grow. Maybe it's a whole group of people who expect you to stay the same, so they don't have to face their own lack of effort. You don't owe them your growth. You don't owe them your potential. You don't need their blessing to move forward. You only need the strength to say, their opinion doesn't get to decide how I live. That one decision can change everything. That one moment of clarity can give you your power back. It's not about disrespecting people. It's about protecting your future. There's a difference between wisdom and limitation. Some opinions come from love. Others come from fear. You have to learn the difference. You have to be strong enough to say no, even to people you care about. When their opinion keeps you stuck, people will say all kinds of things. They'll say you're too ambitious, too slow, too young, too old, too intense, too soft. They'll say it's too late. They'll say it's impossible. They'll say you should be happy with less. But the truth is, they're not talking about you. They're talking about their own limitations. They're talking about their fear of change, their fear of discomfort, their fear of failure. You just happen to be the one challenging their comfort by growing. You are not here to live someone else's version of life. You are not here to carry other people's insecurities on your shoulders. You are here to grow, to expand, to reach your full capacity. And that can't happen if every decision is filtered through someone else's opinion. Stop waiting for permission. Stop asking if they understand. Stop trying to explain your vision to people who can't see beyond their fear. Growth is uncomfortable, but staying stuck because of what someone might think is far more painful. Regret lasts longer than rejection, and silence from someone you tried to impress hurts more than the noise they made when you tried to rise. There will be people who criticize you when you start changing. There will be people who question your motives, challenge your decisions, doubt your abilities. That's not a sign to stop. That's a sign that you're moving. That's a sign that you're doing something real. Growth makes noise. Progress challenges people. Your improvement might make others uncomfortable. That's not your problem to fix. The opinions that stop your growth are usually the ones you didn't even ask for. They're given freely. They're thrown at you without understanding your values, your journey, or your goals. Learn to protect your energy. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every comment deserves a reaction. You don't need to argue with every critic. You just need to keep going. When you know who you are, opinions lose their power. When you're clear about your values, criticism doesn't hit as hard. When you're focused on your purpose, distractions become easier to ignore. That's why your job is not to be understood by everyone. Your job is to become the person you're meant to be. You need to build mental strength the same way you build physical strength, with effort, discipline, and repetition. Every day you ignore an opinion that doesn't serve you, you grow. Every time you move forward despite judgment, you win. Every time you believe in your vision more than someone else's doubts, you get stronger. Ask yourself this: how much of your life is influenced by people who won't be there when it matters most? How much of your time, energy, and direction has been shaped by voices that don't carry your responsibility? If they don't carry your weight, they don't get to steer your ship. You do. You live with the outcome, not them. That means you have to choose what matters to you, not what makes everyone else comfortable. Start listening to your own voice again. Tune in to what you believe, what you feel, what you want. You've been conditioned to believe others know better, but they don't live your life. They don't know your heart. They don't understand your experiences. Trust your judgment. Trust your instincts, and trust that you're allowed to move forward, even if no one claps for you. You don't need the approval of people who gave up on their dreams. You don't need the support of those who never tried. You don't need agreement from people who aren't willing to grow themselves. You need your own belief. You need your own permission. You need your own reason, and you already have it. You are not fragile. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are capable of leading your life with power and focus. But you can't do that if every step you take is interrupted by outside opinions. Protect your progress. Protect your clarity. Protect your mental space. Decide today that you will no longer let irrelevant opinions stop you. Not from starting. Not from continuing. Not from becoming. The only opinion that should carry weight is the one that pushes you to grow, not the one that keeps you small. It takes courage to grow in a world that wants you to stay the same. It takes discipline to move forward when others try to pull you back. But that's where real fulfillment lives, in growth, in truth, in honoring your path even when others don't understand it. The people who change their lives are not the ones with the fewest critics. They're the ones with the strongest self-leadership. They hear the noise and they keep going. They face the doubt and they keep building. They feel the pressure and they keep rising. That's who you can be. That's who you already are. If you stop handing your power to people who don't know what to do with it. From now on, remind yourself daily, your time is limited. Your energy is precious. Your mission is clear. Opinions will come. That's part of life. But your direction must be stronger than their distraction. Keep moving. Keep building. Keep growing. And every day when someone tries to slow you down with their opinion, remember this, you don't have to answer them. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to show up. Be consistent. Be real. Be focused. Your growth will speak louder than anything they say. That's how you win. Not by being louder, not by being perfect, but by being unshakable in your purpose. The kind of person who rises not because it's easy, but because they've learned how to ignore the noise that never mattered. That starts now, and it starts with one powerful decision: to stop living by opinions that don't build your future. Number 9, destroy self-criticism that steals your inner peace instantly. Self-criticism is one of the most destructive habits a person can carry. It creeps in quietly, sounds like your own voice, and disguises itself as honesty. But it does nothing to help you grow. It does nothing to make you stronger. What it does is steal your peace, your energy, your confidence, your motivation. And if you don't destroy it, it will sit in your mind like a permanent echo, repeating all your past mistakes, magnifying your flaws, and attacking your worth every time you try to improve. No one is born with self-hatred. That kind of thinking is learned. You pick it up from painful experiences, critical people, moments of failure and rejection that never got processed the right way. And over time, you start speaking to yourself with the same tone you once heard from someone who hurt you. You stop offering yourself grace. You stop recognizing your effort. You treat your own mind like an enemy. You replay every misstep. You overanalyze every word. You punish yourself for being human. That inner voice doesn't just whisper shame. It dictates how you show up in life. It affects how you treat people, how you handle challenges, how you accept opportunities. It convinces you to doubt everything you do. You start hesitating more. You avoid risks. You settle for less because you don't think you're good enough for more. And every time you try to push forward, self-criticism pulls you back down. You can't live your full life while you're busy tearing yourself apart from the inside. You can't reach your potential if your thoughts keep telling you that you're a failure before you've even begun. That voice needs to be silenced, not tomorrow, not gradually, now. It needs to be destroyed because it is not your truth. It is your trap. Self-criticism does not make you responsible. It does not make you self-aware. What it makes you is small, quiet, tired, defeated. You think if you're hard enough on yourself, you'll improve. But it doesn't work like that. You don't rise by beating yourself down. You don't build strength through shame. You grow when you support yourself. You change when you believe in your capacity to improve, not when you attack every flaw you notice. Most of the time, what you think is discipline is just self-judgment with a clever mask. You're not holding yourself accountable. You're bullying yourself. You're not being realistic. You're being brutal. There is a difference, and that difference is what will determine the kind of relationship you have with your own mind. Self-criticism trains your nervous system to be on edge. It fills you with anxiety. It keeps you constantly focused on what's wrong with you. And over time, your brain starts to expect pain. It anticipates failure. It filters every success through the lens of not good enough. You could win the race, and you'll still focus on how slow you were at the start. You could get the opportunity, and you'll obsess over the one moment you stumbled. This is how you lose your peace, by making your own mind unsafe, by turning every quiet moment into a courtroom, by turning your thoughts into a place of punishment. If you talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself, they would walk away. If someone else spoke to you the way you speak to you, you would feel abused, and yet you allow it because it feels normal, because you've convinced yourself it's necessary for growth. But it's not. It's killing your energy. It's draining your spirit. It's blocking your peace. The way out begins with awareness. You must learn to hear the tone of your inner dialogue. Catch yourself when the criticism begins. Interrupt the cycle. You don't need to argue with it. You just need to stop feeding it. You need to speak to yourself with the same strength and care you'd offer someone you love. Not weakness, strength. The strength to correct without cruelty. The strength to hold yourself accountable without crushing your spirit. Peace doesn't mean ignoring your flaws. It means not turning your flaws into a constant source of torment. It means learning from your mistakes without turning them into a label. It means understanding that you're still becoming. And that doesn't require shame. It requires patience. Destroying self-criticism means replacing it with accurate thinking. It means telling the truth, not the exaggerated story your fear keeps feeding you. If you failed, say it clearly, but say it with purpose. I didn't get it right that time, but I know what to do next. If you're behind, say it honestly, but don't turn it into an identity. I've fallen behind, but I'm catching up now. If you feel stuck, face it, but don't create a story about being broken. I feel stuck today, but I won't stay here. That's what peace looks like. It's not ignoring the problem. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's refusing to attack yourself while you solve it. It's building trust with your mind so that when life gets heavy, your thoughts don't make it worse. And it's not just the big moments. Self-criticism shows up in small places. It shows up when you make a typo and say, "I'm so stupid." It shows up when you forget something and say, "Why can't I do anything right?" It shows up when you look in the mirror and think, "I'll never be enough." These aren't harmless thoughts. They're repeated signals. They're messages you send to your nervous system every day. And over time, they become the lens you see yourself through. You must stop this. You must replace those lines with something stronger, something accurate, something that reflects growth. You can say, "That was a mistake, but I'm learning." You can say, "That wasn't my best moment, but I'll do better." You can say, "I didn't handle that well, but I still deserve peace." This isn't softness. This is strength, rooted in clarity. This is how you take your mind back. You don't have to be perfect to be at peace. You just have to stop choosing thoughts that punish you for being human. You are not the worst thing you've ever done. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are someone who is trying, learning, growing, and that deserves respect, not constant criticism. You also have to be careful with the kind of people you let speak into your life. If you're around people who only highlight your faults, who make jokes at your expense, who treat you like a project to fix instead of a person to respect, you will absorb that tone, and it will show up in how you speak to yourself. Protect your space. Protect your emotional environment. If someone's words plant shame in your mind, you don't need them close. Choose people who build with you, who hold you to a standard, but don't shame you when you fall. Choose mentors who correct you with dignity, not mockery. Choose relationships where growth feels possible, not terrifying. And if you can't find those voices right away, become one for yourself. Speak the words you need to hear, not once, not occasionally, but daily, until your self-talk matches your strength. You don't need more pressure. You need more piss. You don't need more punishment. You need more perspective. You don't need more shame. You need more self-leadership. And that starts with choosing to no longer be at war with your own mind. You don't need anyone's permission to do this. You don't need to wait for the right moment. The right moment is now. Right now is when you say, "I'm done criticizing myself into exhaustion. I'm done turning every mistake into a story of failure. I'm done letting my own thoughts destroy my peace." From now on, every time the voice of criticism speaks, you answer with clarity. You answer with strength. You speak what's real. You speak what's helpful. You remind yourself of your intention, your effort, your growth. You don't entertain lies in your head any longer. This is not about becoming soft. This is about becoming smart. Because no one performs well under constant attack, not from others, and not from themselves. You need mental space to grow. You need inner calm to build. You need to trust your process without tearing yourself apart every time you fall short. Growth is not a straight line. You will make mistakes. You will take missteps. But peace doesn't come from getting it perfect. It comes from choosing not to make yourself your own worst enemy. Destroy the self-criticism, not gently, not gradually. Destroy it with truth. Replace it with useful self-talk. Use your words to lift your mind, not break it. That's how you build a future that matches your potential. That's how you take control. And that's how you finally reclaim your inner peace for good. Number 10, choose thoughts that lift your spirit every morning. The first thoughts you allow into your mind in the morning decide how your entire day begins. They shape how you feel. They influence what you do next. They either lift you up or push you down. And most people don't even realize that the direction of their life starts with something as small as a single thought they choose to believe after they open their eyes. If your first thoughts are negative, anxious, distracted, or defeated, then your entire morning starts with resistance. And that resistance follows you into your work, your relationships, your attitude, your performance, and eventually your results. You can't afford to wake up and hand your mind over to randomness. You can't afford to begin your day by absorbing whatever thoughts show up first. Because most of the time, what shows up first is not helpful. It's old patterns. It's worries. It's distractions. It's reminders of what went wrong yesterday. And if you don't take charge right then and there, you're already off track before the day even begins. This is why you must choose your thoughts deliberately. You must decide what you will believe before the world tells you what to believe. You must create a moment each morning where you consciously set the tone, where you give your mind clear instructions on how to operate, where to focus, and how to respond. If you don't do this, your mind will follow the path of least resistance. It will drift into doubt, stress, insecurity, and fear without you even noticing. Choosing thoughts that lift your spirit isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's not about ignoring problems. It's about reminding yourself that your mind is yours, your attention is yours, your emotional state is yours, and you can train it to support you rather than weaken you. You don't wait to feel positive. You choose to lead with useful thoughts. You don't wait for peace to find you. You set the tone for peace with the way you begin your thinking. That's a decision. That's discipline. And that's a powerful habit. The way you start your morning is not just a routine. It's a declaration. It's you telling yourself and the world what kind of mindset you will operate from. Will it be a mindset of focus, calm, strength, purpose? Or will it be a mindset shaped by worry, comparison, fatigue, or doubt? You don't need an hour-long routine to do this. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start with one question. What do I want to think right now that will support the person I want to be today? Then choose a thought that lifts you, guides you, focuses you. You can think, today I will take responsibility for my choices, or I will show up with clarity and effort, or no matter how I feel, I will stay grounded, or this is a new day and I get to decide what I do with it. These are not just sentences. They are mental directions. They give your emotions somewhere to go. They create stability. They remove mental noise. Most people wake up and immediately turn to their phone. They scroll through opinions, problems, highlights of other people's lives, and headlines designed to trigger fear. And before they've even left the bed, their mind is overwhelmed. Their peace is already disturbed. Their energy is already drained. You need to protect your first thoughts like they're sacred, because they are. They carry more influence than you think. They don't just stay in your mind. They shape your posture, your energy, your attitude, and your actions. That's why you must take control. You must interrupt the autopilot and replace it with clear, empowering direction. Choose thoughts that support your values. Choose thoughts that remind you of your progress. Choose thoughts that reconnect you to your goals, not fake inspiration. Real clarity, real focus, real personal leadership. Something as simple as, I know what matters today, or I can handle anything one step at a time, can change the entire emotional tone of your day. This is not about denying reality. It's about choosing what part of reality you give your energy to. You can wake up and focus on everything that might go wrong. Or you can wake up and focus on what you can do to make things go right. You can dwell on what's missing, or you can build on what you already have. That choice makes the difference between dragging yourself through your day and moving through it with strength. You don't need to feel perfect to lead your thinking. You don't need to wake up in a good mood. That's the point. You do this especially when you don't feel like it. You do this when you feel off, overwhelmed, unmotivated. You do this when the doubt is loud, because that's when you need it the most. You don't have to believe every thought that appears in your mind. Just because a negative thought shows up doesn't mean you have to entertain it. You don't owe your attention to fear. You don't owe your focus to regret. You don't owe your peace to the past. You can feel something and still choose a better thought. You can be tired and still choose focus. You can be stressed and still choose clarity. You can be worried and still choose to return to what you can control. When you get good at choosing your thoughts in the morning, it becomes a pattern. And once it becomes a pattern, it becomes your default setting. Then your entire day becomes more stable. You're not as reactive. You're not thrown off by every inconvenience. You become more present, more grounded, more in control of yourself. Don't underestimate how much your thinking shapes your emotions. What you think in the morning echoes through your mood. It affects how you treat people. It influences what you believe you're capable of. If your first thoughts are destructive, you will carry that weight. If your first thoughts are focused and intentional, you carry strength instead. There is a part of you that wants to stay focused, that wants to improve, that wants to keep building. But it can't speak up if your mind is already filled with doubt and distractions. You have to clear space for it. And that begins with what you allow first thing in the morning. Choosing thoughts that lift your spirit doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means choosing not to let pain dominate your direction. It means you decide to live with intention, not reaction. It means you take ownership of your energy instead of giving it away. Some mornings will be hard. You'll wake up feeling pressure. You'll remember what's heavy. You'll feel slow. That's okay. That's part of being human. But that's exactly why your thoughts matter. That's when your discipline kicks in. That's when you don't wait to feel ready. You lead yourself anyway. This is where real progress lives. Not in some big moment, but in the quiet decision you make when you first open your eyes. To speak to yourself with clarity. To direct your focus with purpose. To carry yourself like someone who knows where they're going, even if the road isn't easy. And the best part is, you can do this anywhere. You don't need tools. You don't need permission. You don't need a perfect life. You only need to decide every morning that your mind belongs to you, and you will lead it toward peace, strength, and direction. Do this enough days in a row, and you'll notice the shift. You'll wake up and your first thoughts won't be fear. They'll be focus. You'll feel stronger before your feet even touch the ground. Not because life got easier, but because your thoughts finally started working for you, not against you. That's what this is about. Taking back control of your inner world. Choosing thoughts that match your values. Thoughts that speak to who you are becoming. Thoughts that help you rise, even when life tries to pull you down. One thought at a time. One morning at a time. One choice at a time. That's how you build a life you can be proud of. Starting from the moment you wake up, every day. Without excuse, without delay, with full ownership and full belief in your ability to lead yourself from the inside out.